Good afternoon everyone, welcome to the weekly purple penny coin video. We have this video live every Monday at 12 PM Adelaide time. My wife and I, Catherine, run the Purple Penny. We're a small coin shop in the northern suburbs of Adelaide in South Australia. This is the 49th time I've done this year. We had a couple of questions in the last week about what exactly is it that we do on Mondays and Tuesdays, because you probably all know by now that we are not open on Mondays and Tuesdays, but we are here working all day. I'll give you a rundown of what I've done this morning just to give you some idea. We got in here at about 8 o'clock. I've done all of orders for Catherine, followed up on all the phone messages and email messages for the weekend, run through 2 collections that were left here for evaluations on the weekend, and just sorting out a bunch of scrap silver before we got onto the prep for this video. Each video takes about 45 minutes to get ready, so that's been my morning, and obviously none of that could happen when we were open, so that's what happens on Mondays and Tuesdays. When I'm done here for the rest of the day, I'll be jumping on to the camera rig, which is just over there, and spending an hour or two taking photos so that we've got enough photos in stock to get a bunch of new inventory up on the website, because new inventory is always exciting. I'll just say a few hellos. Hello Paul, Petra, Cam, John and John, Mike, Rob from sunny Brisbane, g'day Mike, Dillis, Marie, Michael and Patrick. So hello to everyone who's watching today. So we'll just jump into the news. Hasn't been a whole lot going on in the last week, but I must admit we were so busy with the roundup of the Tamworth and Aboriginal flag rolls that we haven't spent a whole lot of time on social media. It's kind of interesting to watch the secondary market for the Aboriginal flag rolls. I think the mint has hit a bit of a sweet point with the 10,000 rolls. I feel like that seems to be the right number to keep the secondary market under control, and I guess from a mint's point of view, they end up with more money in their pocket, so it doesn't go into the secondary market. Those flag rolls I've been seeing them auction on social media for $115 to $130. People who stick them up at buy it nows for $140 or $150 seem to sell them fairly quickly. Certainly a far cry from the $300 or $400 that we were seeing just a week or two after releases, when there were just 5,000 or 7,500 rolls. So I think that's probably a good thing. It means that the mint, it means that collectors have more chance of getting these things at an affordable value, an affordable amount. So if you didn't manage to get a roll on release day, you can pick them up on the secondary market for not much more than release price, which is a good thing. Just a reminder that we'll be closed from Christmas Day until the first Wednesday in the new year. I think that means that we're closed for a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday and a Saturday. We will be running the website as per usual. We won't be coming in here every day that we're closed, so mail will be not up to its usual pace that Catherine strives to keep up with. I'd probably suggest if you are buying between Christmas and New Year that you don't select the express post option, because it might take us a day or two to get here into the shop and get those things shipped out, but we will be processing orders as usual. There were a couple of interesting news items that popped up in my feeds this week. One was a Salvation Army in the USA that had 3.5 ounces of gold placed into their donation coin collection bucket. It was there was a Mexican 50 peso coin, 2 1-ounce Krugerrands and what looked like a half-ounce Krugerrand. You do hear of that from time to time, but not all that often. That's getting up towards $10,000 worth of gold that someone has donated to the Salvation Army. So whoever did that, kudos to them, and makes for a bit of interesting reading. And the last one here, I've had a bit of an organised crime bent on this channel for a little while now, talking about the cash economy and things like that. Hello, Catherine. Catherine is in the other room doing her mailing today. She's just commented there. Everyone should say hi to Catherine because she does tune into these videos now, which is great. Anyway, back onto the organised crime bent. There was a pallet of American Silver Eagle monster boxes seized in the USA this week as part of a money laundering scheme. An ASE is a 1 ounce silver coin, and a monster box I think is a box of 100, so it's 100 ounces, which today is worth about $3,100 or thereabouts. So, and there was about, I think, 150 monster boxes on the pallet, so you can do that maths in your head. Of course, bullion has always been a way of storing wealth and avoiding, I guess, tracking. Once you convert your cash into bullion, it's if you get rid of it in smaller amounts, it's very difficult to track, and organised crime has picked up onto that. But yeah, that's an interesting little bit of coin news that popped up this week. Now, we've got two topics of the week this week. The first one we only decided on today because Catherine happened to bring something into the shop, and I'll just grab it here carefully. It's not something that we we've seen too often because it usually is locked away safely, but there's what looks like a bottle cap there. I'll just put my hand behind that so it focuses in on it. So you can see there it's what it actually is a 5-cent die cap. You can see inside there, you can see the reverse of a 5-cent piece, and on the other side it's quite smooth. So this is believe it or not, this weighs exactly the same as a normal 5-cent piece, so 2.85 grams, but you can see that it is extruded out there by about 9 or 10 millimeters. This is called a die cap error. If you're wondering what a die cap error is, a die cap error is this is, funnily enough, is a die. When a blank comes into the press, and for whatever reason, when it's struck, it actually gets stuck to the top face of the die there, and then more blanks come through, and this goes up and strikes more and more blanks. And every time it strikes those blanks, that die cap, because it's now a cap on top of this die, actually extrudes out further and further and works its way down the side of the die. So you can see this jigger here, that it actually extruded a fair way down the side of the die there, forming this nice little die cap error or a bottle cap error. As a bottle cap, you know, it's pretty obvious why it's called a bottle cap. We'll just pop up some better pictures of that there. You do see die caps pop up very occasionally. I guess it's pretty difficult for these to actually escape the mint to get actually into circulation, because most of the time I imagine they have to be physically removed from the die and they're collected by the mint staff. This one probably dates to the late 1960s, and at that point the security mechanisms in the mint aren't what they are now, and many of these areas just left the mint. They were just scrapped, they weren't given any regard, so they're often taken home by staff, or that's what we're told anyway. This is likely one of those that just escaped the mint that way. You don't see them really much at all with decimal coins. You know, maybe there's 15 or 20 in existence. You do see them a little bit more frequently with pre-decimal coins, but even then they're very hard to find. So, you know, it's a pretty remarkable error, and I would say the best one that we've got in our collection. Certainly if it's not the best coin in our collection, it's pretty damn close to it. So, you know, that's a 5-cent die cap. Lovely purchase. We were super happy to be able to get hold of that several years ago. There you go. Peter's actually telling us what it is. So I've actually got a note on the holder here that says 1969 in brackets, and I don't think I identified that from from die varieties. I think I actually went back through auction catalogues and identified all of the obverse brockages that had appeared for 5-cent pieces, and this was the 1969 was the only candidate that I could find, but that was, you know, getting on towards 10 years ago, so I don't quite remember now how I got onto that. Anyway, 5-cent die cap, hard to find, favourite coin of ours, and definitely not for sale. Right, topic of the week this week is not really much to do with coins. It was something that was suggested to us by 2 people last week because of some hullabaloo that was happening on Facebook. There was and you know, I don't want to get involved into what the politics behind this were or who the people were, but there was supposedly a fairly well-known Facebook coin identity throwing around accusations. Someone outed those accusations, and a bunch of people supported that person who outed them, and then this person who threw out the accusations was sending threatening private messages, and you know, it was all just pretty gross. And you know, we try to stay out, well, we do stay out of that sort of stuff, but funnily enough, a bit later in the week, we actually had someone throwing around accusations about us, about our business practices here, and you know, it was one of those typical accusations where I heard that they might have, but you know, that they weren't people that we'd ever heard of. There was no actual names, or it was all just very vague. But you know, you do tend to see this stuff spread around on social media, and it gets a life of its own. It gets a truth of its own. If enough people say it, people start believing it. So us as coin collectors, you know, social media I think can be a great thing for us. It allows us to learn stuff about coins. It allows us to connect with people who know a lot of coins, know a lot about coins. There's a few of them that are watching today that know, you know, a buttload about coins, certainly far more than what I do, and people that I've learnt a lot of things from. And having the opportunity to talk to those people, I think, is extremely valuable. It's certainly, at no point in our history have you been able to reach out to experts in a field and, you know, sometimes get just instant responses. We've certainly reached out to experts in the USA and had answers straight away on questions that we could have never have got answered otherwise. So it does give you a fantastic opportunity to learn as a collector. It allows you to conduct price research. You can see what the current sales are and things like that, because social media is very instant, very immediate. You can see, as I've already mentioned today, how the secondary market is performing for new releases. You can see how things are trending over time. For a hobby like coin collecting, which, if we're all honest with ourselves, is a fairly solitary hobby, tends to be something that you do by yourself. Often I'm lucky enough that Catherine is interested in coins, and I guess she's lucky enough that I am, and we can share our hobby together, but that is unusual amongst partners for that to be the case. So having social media to be able to reach out there and talk to people who collect like you do, I think is a wonderful opportunity. Of course, I think they call it the 360-degree economy now. The opportunity to buy things through social media is wonderful. You can access all sorts of things on social media that you couldn't get otherwise. Having that opportunity is wonderful. And then, of course, social media is a great way of coin news spreading around and people dispensing information. When you're watching this video, this is a way that we dispense information to collectors. And again, you know, that opportunity wasn't around even 10 years ago. You couldn't do this stuff on Facebook, so the world is changing fairly quickly. I should just say that there's a few people that are watching today that have known me for a long time, and you know, Catherine and I and the people that I'm thinking about here that are watching today, we've been online doing online coin things for it's since 2002. And you know, this predates social media, predates Google. I used to be a member of Usenet groups, coin Usenet groups, which then became Google groups, and there was obviously coin forums. I was a member of several coin forums, and Catherine and I still administer Australia's biggest bulletin board coin forum. We don't do a lot with it anymore, but there's still active members there. So, a lot of this stuff we see on social media we've seen many times before. So we do have a bit of advice to give to people about how to use social media and avoid the sorts of blow-ups that we saw last week, because they are extremely unpleasant and can ruin the experience for yourself, and certainly, if they upset you, they can upset your entire family, because it is quite easy to get upset over this stuff. So let's just jump on to my tips and Catherine's tips, and this could apply to any social media. If you join a coin group, watch it and read it before you comment. Really get an idea of the feel and the nature of the group before you start taking part. Watch out for dominant personalities and people who perhaps can be a bit abrupt, and get to know the moderators or the administrators and things like that. So watch before you comment. The next one is read before you ask. And what do I mean by that? I mean, read the posts that are in the group. Do a Google search. There are very few questions that you can ask on social media that haven't already been answered before, and often you're better off typing your query into Google, especially if it's Australian coin related, and having a read of some web pages, because most questions, as I've said, have already been answered before. The trouble with leaping in and asking questions on Facebook is, before you do your own research, is twofold. Firstly, it does annoy group members when they see the same questions over and over and over again. So you can put people offside doing that. The other problem is that you often get armchair experts leaping up to answer a question, and their answers are wrong. And there's no getting around it. Their answers are just dead wrong. They seem to think that an answer is a screenshot out of a web page, or a photograph of a Renix catalogue, or something like that, or a screenshot of a item up for sale on eBay. Get out there and do your own research outside of social media before you start asking questions on social media. That's probably one of the biggest tips that I can give you. The next one here is think before you argue. Don't get into fights with people on Facebook. It's going nowhere. It is going nowhere. The saying that, and I'm not calling people who argue with other people on Facebook pigs here, but the saying I had is, you don't wrestle with pigs, because they just drag you down into the mud and then they enjoy it. And arguing with people on Facebook is similar. There are people who just, arguing on social media is a hobby for them, and you won't win. And even if you do win, you still lose. I don't enter into debates with people on social media. I just get up, and this is the next step. I just get up and walk away. Even if I see something that has upset me, I get up and walk away. And every now and again I do something stupid and Catherine pulls me up on it. Sometimes you do get angry and you say something that you shouldn't say. This unfounded accusation that was thrown around about us last week, we're lucky enough to have a lot of friends in the industry and a lot of people that we like, and hopefully they like us, and people that I do count as friends. And when they see things pop up online that affect us, they will let us know. So, we do see all of this stuff. And in the case of this thing on Friday, I found out just as we got home from the shop, and went for a walk, thought about it, came back and addressed it, and that really was the end of it. There was no responses. It was just contacting the administrators of the group and pointing out some facts, and the whole thing was removed. And often that's the best way of approaching these sorts of things. So yeah, do be prepared to just get up and walk away. It's just a coin group. It's not, it's nothing that you should take personally. And as I said, there are people who make a hobby out of thrashing out arguments on the internet. I don't understand it. I don't understand what they get out of it, but that's what they do. And just don't get into it. And the last one here is to actually keep your ID separate from your real world profile. Now, I know on Facebook that having alternate logins is against their terms and conditions, but I often think it is a good idea to create a Facebook profile or an Insta profile or whatever it is that has not any relation to your own personal Facebook profile and use that to take part with on coin groups. There's a few reasons for that. One is that there have been crazy people send threats and physical violence and doxing and all that sort of stuff when they get so upset with someone. So remove that possibility by using an alternate profile. The other, of course, is if you are buying valuable things, then having your real name associated with that on Facebook groups isn't great because it is risky. People could find out your real address and come and attempt to rob you or whatever it is. It does happen. So having that alternate profile is always a good idea. I like social media. We do most of our marketing through... Catherine has a good point there. So Catherine, thank you, Catherine, over there in the other room, just waving at her. Check your Facebook privacy settings. Now, what does that mean? It means jumping into Facebook and looking at your privacy settings and making sure that the only people that can see your posts and photographs and things like that are people that you're friends with. Often people don't have those security settings locked down. So, let's say I go and upset someone on Facebook and they click on my profile and I don't have my security settings, my privacy settings locked down. They can see pictures of my kids and maybe a picture of my house or my car number plate or whatever, and it's not unimaginable that they can track me down and find where I am. So you can lock down your Facebook profile fairly tightly to prevent that sort of thing from happening, or as I said, consider having an alternate profile. Right, let's just have a look at some questions here. Yes, Michael Davis has bought... We'll just remove this slide here. Michael Davis has bought a 5-set split planchet. Combined weighs more than 3 grams. Oh, that's a bit odd. Would like to see that, Michael. If you're ever in Adelaide, please bring it in so we can take a look at it. I'd love to see that. Mark John says, do people collect more than coins? My main thing is coins, but I have tokens and badges and stamps. Yes, there's a terrible joke amongst the coin collecting community that all coin collectors end up collecting badges at some point. That's because certainly, say, consider the Australian pre-decimal series. If you're not collecting in ultra high grades and you sort of neglect the big dollar coins, you can complete a low grade collection fairly quickly, and you run out of interesting things to collect. Whereas badges and things like that, there are tens of thousands of badges that have been issued in Australia, and medals and medallions, and you can collect rather endlessly and always see things that you haven't seen before, Mark. So yeah, lots of people do collect things other than coins. Peter says you can always block them. Yes, that's correct, Peter. You can always block them. G'day, Greg. How you going? I think that's about it, really. So, alright, no, that's it. So, look, I guess please do take care out there on social media. If you do see people sort of bagging on you on social media, just walk away from it. There's no point. Don't try to defend yourself. There's no point arguing with them. You're never going to get anywhere. If you do, I guess, I'll ask for your help. If you do see posts about us and it doesn't sit right with you, then please just let us know. We do appreciate heads up on that sort of stuff, and we do like to learn from that. This thing that went on last week, I did go back through our purchase records just to check my own memory that we hadn't done what this person said we'd done. We do have written records of all of our purchases. We're not perfect. Catherine and I do get things wrong from time to time, and if someone says something, we always want to know just so we can improve ourselves. If you do see something about us, do let us know. And just, I guess, be careful out there on social media. It's a bit of a wild west, and you just need to be safe. Right, that's it for this week. Thank you everyone for watching. We will be doing a video next Monday, which will be the 50th of the year. I still haven't decided if I'm doing one the week after Christmas. If you can't catch up next week, I wish everyone a happy Christmas and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Happy collecting, stay safe. Australia's coming out of lockdown, which is fantastic, so hopefully you all get to see your families and get about and do things. Thanks for watching, thanks for taking part everyone, it's appreciated. You make this easy to do, so thank you everyone. We'll see you next time.